She did not shout. She did not cry. She did not slam the door in some dramatic display that would give you a clear enemy to fight. Instead, her retreat was quiet, almost surgical. The conversations became shorter. The warmth in her eyes dimmed. The way she once leaned into you, as if your presence was her favorite gravity, became a polite distance. You felt it before you could prove it. An invisible hand pulling her away, strand by strand, from the web you thought you both had woven together. You didn't know if she was testing you, punishing you, or simply losing interest, but the silence between you felt like an unspoken verdict. That ache in your chest, the gnawing confusion. This is the battlefield Machiavelli understood better than most men ever will. Not the battlefield of swords and cities, but the one where a woman's mind is the territory, and the currency is influence, power, and control. Machiavelli left behind no simple tricks, no fleeting tactics. His message, if you read him with the eyes of a man who refuses to be ruled by the volatility of a lover's emotions, is not about charm. It is about dominion. It is about ensuring that you are never at the mercy of her shifting tides, but that she, knowingly or not, orbits you as the sun around which her inner world revolves. This is not a call to cruelty. It is a call to mastery. The mastery of perception, of consequence, of the subtle art of becoming the man whose absence she fears more than his presence. The transformation I offer you through this is not the brittle armor of false confidence. It is the forging of a throne within her mind, from which you cannot be dethroned. If you understand Machiavelli not the caricature of him as a schemer, but the precision of his thinking, you will not merely win her approval. You will own the frame of reality in which she operates, so that her attraction, her loyalty, her submission are the natural byproducts of her belief that you are inevitable. And to understand how, we must begin with the single thesis that governs all the scenarios we will explore. Dominance over her mind is achieved not by force, nor by endless gifts of affection, but by controlling the meaning of your presence and absence. Scenario 1. You are in the early stages of intimacy. She has not yet given herself fully to you emotionally, but she is clearly intrigued. One evening, during what was supposed to be a light-hearted conversation, she slips in a casual, almost playful question. So, are you seeing anyone else? Her tone is half curious, half teasing. On the surface, this appears to be a moment of honesty-seeking. In reality, this is a hidden test of power. She is not simply asking for information, she is probing for the frame. She wants to see if you will hand over your position of mystery and autonomy. Psychologically, this is an evolutionary safeguard. Women are drawn to men who are valued by others, yet they also seek to secure that value for themselves. Her question is not for clarity, it is to measure your scarcity in the marketplace, to detect whether you are the kind of man who must be chased, or the kind who is grateful to be chosen. The real danger here is not in the answer itself, but in whether your response will place you beneath her in the silent hierarchy that attraction always builds. The weak response, the one most men instinctively give, goes something like this. An eager smile, a quick, "No, of course not. I'm only talking to you." He believes this will signal loyalty and make her feel special. In fact, it achieves the opposite. What he has done is remove any uncertainty, any sense of competition, any hint of the unknown. He has declared that she already holds exclusive claim over him without having truly earned it. This is not read as romantic devotion. It is read as premature surrender. In her subconscious, the chain reaction is swift. If he is already fully committed without requiring her to invest deeply, then his value must not be in high demand. This erodes the subtle tension that fuels her attraction. By collapsing the game before it has even begun, he communicates that his world revolves around her, and in doing so, he abdicates the role of the sun. This is not just about status. It is about psychological leverage. Once gone, it is nearly impossible to recover. The power response, the one aligned with Machiavellian mastery, is not a denial nor a confession. It is a redirection that maintains control of the frame. You meet her eyes with calm, perhaps even a faint smile that suggests amusement at the question itself. "I enjoy good company," you say, and let the silence after those words do the work. The brilliance of this lies in its ambiguity. You have neither confirmed nor denied, yet you have implied abundance. You are communicating pre-selection, that other women exist in your orbit, and you are doing so without defensiveness. This forces her mind to engage in the most potent form of emotional investment, curiosity. She is now playing on your field, not you on hers. Machiavelli would see this as the art of withholding just enough to keep her seeking, of ensuring she feels the stakes without you ever laying them bare. Her perception shifts almost immediately. The security she subconsciously expected from your surrender is replaced by a flicker of competitive instinct. She begins to reevaluate her own position in your world. If she thought she was already at the finish line, she now realizes she is mid-race. This not only reignites attraction, it places you in the role of the prize. Over time, this perception deepens. She will watch you more closely, test you more subtly, and most importantly, invest more heavily, because in her mind, winning you becomes a challenge that validates her worth. Machiavelli knew, when people must strive to earn what they want, they value it beyond measure. Scenario 2. You have been seeing each other for some time, and the dynamic has settled into a rhythm. She is affectionate, but there is a certain ease in her demeanor now. Then, one weekend, you make plans with your friends' plans that do not include her. You mention it casually, without defensiveness, and her reaction is immediate but understated. "Oh, so I'm not invited?" The tone is light, even accompanied by a small smile, but the underlying current is unmistakable. This is not simply a question of logistics. It is a test of boundaries and primacy. She wants to see whether your life is hers to control, whether your independence can be folded entirely into her world. Evolutionary psychology tells us that while women are attracted to men who are independent and in demand, there is an equally strong instinct to test the edges of that independence. If she can bend your schedule and priorities to her will, then she gains the comfort of dominance, but at the cost of her attraction. She may not be conscious of this conflict, but her subconscious knows that a man who gives up his orbit to become a satellite of hers is no longer the gravitational force she first desired. A weak response is to quickly fold under the pressure. You hear the question and immediately seek to soothe her mild disappointment. "I didn't think you'd want to come, but you totally can. I'll let the guys know." He believes he's demonstrating flexibility and kindness, that this will make her feel included and valued. But this capitulation carries a deeper signal, that her comfort takes absolute precedence over his existing commitments, that he fears even the smallest hint of her disapproval. She now sees that his boundaries are negotiable, that his life has no structures or priorities that are non-negotiable. On the psychological level, this is devastating to attraction. It communicates that he does not operate from a position of internal sovereignty, but from the reactive posture of someone constantly calibrating to avoid conflict. Over time, this erodes the sense of challenge and mystery that fuels her interest. She might not articulate it, but the silent conclusion will be, if she can bend him this easily, so can the world. He is not a fortress, he is a tent. The power response, through a Machiavellian lens, is to acknowledge the question without surrendering the frame. You maintain your relaxed composure, meeting her eyes with warmth, but also certainty. "Not this time. It's something we do just us," you say, letting the words settle without over-explaining. The strength here lies in the unapologetic clarity. You have established that your life contains elements that are yours alone, that her inclusion is a choice, not an obligation. This communicates two powerful messages simultaneously. First, that you have an existence beyond her, and second, that your value comes from being a man who can stand apart without anxiety. In Machiavelli's view, a ruler maintains control not by appeasing every subject, but by establishing and enforcing the structures that keep his authority intact. By holding your ground in this small matter, you subtly train her to respect the architecture of your life, rather than expecting to redesign it at will. The shift in her perception is subtle but profound. The initial moment may carry a flicker of surprise, or even slight frustration emotions that are not threats but fuel. Instead of collapsing into the certainty that she already controls the pace and scope of your shared life, she is reminded that there are parts of you she cannot simply claim. This breeds intrigue. The long-term impact is that she begins to value her invitations into your world more highly, because she understands they are deliberate choices on your part. She also experiences the unconscious security that comes from being with a man who is unshakable in his own priorities, a man who will not be eroded by the constant negotiation of comfort. In time, this deepens respect, and respect is the fertile ground from which sustained attraction grows. Scenario 3. The two of you are in a social setting, a dinner with friends, a gathering where multiple people are engaged in conversation. At some point, another woman in the group engages you directly, laughing at your jokes, asking you questions with just a touch more energy than the rest. Your woman notices this. She is polite, composed, but when you step away together, she drops a comment that seems harmless on the surface. You and Sarah seem to be getting along really well. This is not simply an observation. It is a test of jealousy and influence. She wants to see how you will handle the subtle accusation and whether you will shrink under the weight of implied guilt. From an evolutionary perspective, this serves a dual purpose: to measure your loyalty while simultaneously gauging your social value. If other women find you engaging, it affirms her choice, but only if she can be sure you are not easily swayed. The weak response is to overcorrect. He hears the comment and rushes to eliminate the perceived threat. Oh no, it was nothing. She's just friendly. I wasn't really paying attention. This attempt to reassure has the opposite effect. It signals defensiveness, as if he is afraid she might actually believe he was interested. This defensiveness not only diminishes his social value, it also suggests guilt, even if none exists. In her subconscious, she reads this as weakness, as an inability to remain centered in the face of mild pressure. The man who scrambles to appease is not the man who commands. The power response is rooted in composure and a refusal to surrender the frame. When she makes the comment about Sarah, you don't leap into justification or denial. Instead, you hold her gaze with the same calm confidence you displayed during the conversation itself. People enjoy talking to me, you say with a faint, knowing smile, then effortlessly change the subject to something you want to discuss. The genius here is twofold. First, you acknowledge the observation without bending under it. You neither confirm nor deny the depth of Sarah's interest, instead affirming a fact about yourself, that you are socially magnetic. Second, by pivoting the conversation away, you subtly train her that you will not be interrogated into proving your loyalty like a suspect under questioning. In Machiavellian terms, you've asserted that you are the sovereign of your interactions, that you decide which inquiries deserve extended engagement. This communicates unshakable self-assurance and scarcity. You are the man others want to engage with, not the man scrambling to explain why they did. The shift in her perception after this is immediate, though she may never admit it aloud. Rather than feeling soothed by your denial, she feels the slow burn of competitive instinct. She has been reminded that your attention is a currency others desire, and that she cannot simply assume perpetual possession of it. This doesn't create paranoia. It reignites desire. Long term, she will heighten her investment in you, subtly dressing sharper, engaging more playfully, paying more attention to keeping your gaze. The respect she feels for you deepens, because she sees you as a man who can navigate social currents without drowning in approval seeking. Machiavelli understood that the ruler who commands loyalty does so not by swearing endless oaths, but by embodying the kind of authority that others instinctively rally around. By mastering this moment, you've reaffirmed that she must keep earning her place beside you. Scenario 4. An argument brews not an explosive fight, but a sharp disagreement over something that matters to you. Maybe it's how you spend your money, or whether you will take a particular opportunity that demands more of your time. She challenges your choice with emotion and persistence, her voice a mix of frustration and urgency. The hidden test here is not about the decision itself, but about whether you will collapse under the emotional pressure to keep the peace. Evolutionarily, this comes from a need to assess whether the man she is with can hold the line under stress. A man who cannot withstand pressure in a private argument is unlikely to withstand it in the face of external challenges. This is the crucible where many men lose their frame completely, trading long-term respect for the short-term comfort of resolution at any cost. The weak response is to capitulate quickly, adopting her position simply to avoid tension. You're right. It's not worth fighting over. I'll change it. On the surface, this seems kind and cooperative, but beneath it lies the corrosive signal that your convictions are malleable when confronted with strong emotion. Over time, she internalizes that your leadership can be overridden, that your decision-making is not anchored in an unshakable sense of self. The damage here is twofold. Not only does her respect erode, but so does her trust in you as a man who can shield both himself and the relationship from external pressures. A leader who changes course at every storm breeds anxiety, not safety. The power response demands steadiness. You let her express her frustration fully without rushing to end it. When she finishes, you answer in a level, measured tone. I understand you feel strongly about this, but my decision stands. Then you leave it at that. You are not dismissive, you acknowledge her perspective, but you refuse to negotiate away your principles for the sake of comfort. This is Machiavelli statcraft applied to the personal sphere. The ruler must sometimes endure displeasure from his subjects to maintain the stability of the realm. In this case, the realm is your personal sovereignty. By holding your ground, you teach her through action, not lecture that your choices are deliberate and not up for casual reversal. This doesn't create lasting resentment. It creates a deep, if grudging, respect. Her perception shifts in a way that strengthens the foundation of the relationship. In the short term, she may feel irritation, but beneath it grows the reassurance that you cannot be blown off course by temporary winds. She sees in you a man who can anchor himself in his own convictions, even in the face of her disapproval. This generates a sense of safety, not the safety of comfort, but the safety of knowing our man is not formless clay in the hands of whoever pushes hardest. Over time, this stability becomes part of your identity in her mind, reinforcing both attraction and respect. Scenario 5. After a stretch of time together, she begins to withdraw subtly. She texts less frequently, cancels plans with plausible excuses, and seems distracted when you're together. This is the most dangerous test, because it is often unconscious on her part. The withdrawal is not always a prelude to leaving. Sometimes it is a probe to see whether you will chase harder, whether you will collapse into pursuit to restore the closeness. Evolutionarily, this stems from an instinct to see if your value depends on her constant engagement, or if you stand as a man whose life and energy remain full regardless. The weak response here is panic disguised as affection. You increase your messages, propose more plans, try to fix the perceived problem with attention and reassurance. This accelerates the loss of attraction because it confirms that her withdrawal dictates your emotional state. It places you firmly in the role of the pursuer, erasing the magnetic polarity that existed when you were the prize to be won. The power response to her withdrawal is to mirror the change without hostility, maintaining your rhythm of life exactly as it is. If she texts less, you don't fill the gap with more. If she cancels plans, You replace them with pursuits that fuel your own satisfaction work, training, friends, passions. When you do interact, you remain warm and present, but you do not reference the gap. You do not interrogate her about the change, and you certainly do not plead for a return to what was. The message, without words, is clear. Your emotional equilibrium is not dependent on her constant affirmation. You are a man of momentum, and her presence adds to your life, but does not define it. Machiavelli would frame this as ensuring that the court knows the ruler's strength is inherent to his position, not borrowed from the favor of others. This subtle withdrawal of your own creates a tension. She feels the absence of your pursuit, and with it, the weight of her own diminishing investment. The shift in her perception is often startling. The space she created to test your dependency becomes a mirror in which she sees her own value in your world more clearly. Instead of confirming that you will chase harder at the first sign of distance, you've proven that you are unshakable. This not only restores attraction, but intensifies it, because she feels the quiet, unnerving reality that you can and will thrive without her. Over time, this dynamic flips the script. She begins to reinitiate, to close the gap herself, driven by the primal urge to be close to the man who is both desired by others and sovereign unto himself. You have reinforced the golden rule of Machiavellian dominance in relationships. Control is not in chasing, but in making your presence a privilege she must maintain. The practical arsenal distilled from these 5 scenarios is deceptively simple in words, but immense in execution. 1. Never surrender mystery too early. Uncertainty is the oxygen of attraction. 2. Maintain sacred boundaries in your life that no relationship can absorb completely. 3. Navigate social intrigue with calm acknowledgement, never defensiveness, letting your presence speak louder than explanations. 4. Hold your ground in disagreements, proving that your convictions are not for sale. 5. Match withdrawal with self-sufficiency, showing that your center of gravity exists within you, not in her approval. Each of these responses operates on the same Machiavellian principle. A ruler governs not by pleasing every subject at every moment, but by maintaining the structures that make his rule both respected and desired. The powerful conclusion is this: dominance over a woman as mind is not an act of constant force, nor is it a parade of grand gestures. It is the quiet, disciplined mastery of your own frame until it becomes the unspoken law of the relationship. Machiavelli's writings on statecraft were never meant only for princes and politics. They were blueprints for human nature itself. The court, the city, the army, these are all metaphors for the complex kingdom that is a woman's inner world. If you allow her to set the laws, to rewrite the boundaries, to dictate the narrative of your worth, then you have surrendered the crown before the first battle. But if you hold your sovereignty, if you remain the fixed point around which the relationship revolves, you become, in her mind, the inevitable center of gravity. This does not make you oppressive. It makes you irreplaceable. And so the session forcer, the transformation offered here, is not about winning a game or memorizing a set of lines. It is about becoming the man who never has to ask where he stands, because he has built himself into the standard by which all others are measured. In our next exploration, we will turn to the thinker who understood desire not as a strategy, but as an archetype that lives in the human unconscious of force older than language itself. If Machiavelli taught you how to rule the court, the next will show you how to rule the dream. The throne you build in her mind is only the beginning. The empire you build in her soul is the endgame.